Oh, welcome everybody to Magneticor's Let's Talk. Today's episode 5, we're talking about true choices. I just want to acknowledge some of the Magneticor coaches in the room with me today. First of all, I'm Corey Threewing.
And I'm Sarah.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Ginny. Hi.
Right on. And we've got definitely a little room full of people from all over the world in our meeting with us today. A couple things where getting started right out the gate. Little bit of housekeeping. If those of you on the call, if you'd be so kind to keep your mics on mute unless you're speaking. And also because we are recording this call, if you choose not to be recorded, if you'd be so kind to keep your camera off, and then we will also know not to call on you during conversation time. All right, starting off the hour with our topic of true choices, and I like to begin with some definitions. Now today, because of true choices in the context of our work, it's hard to just look up in Merriam-Webster true choices because you're not going to come up with it. So we dug a little bit deeper. We kind of surfed around. We did a little harvesting around what true choices means to our tribe. And a couple things that came up. First one was purely inspirational. Like a true choice is inspired. Another definition is a choice of something you choose to manifest, a chosen object or thing or way of being. Another one was, it's not a goal, wish, or dream, it's a choice. Another one, of course, is it's a choice with the end result in focus. And of course, the most famous definition of all is a choice made purely because you love it. A true choice is something you love. Right, so let's get into a couple of examples of what we think some of these true choices might be.
Can I just speak a little bit to that? There was that middle definition that you offered up, and we were saying it's not a goal, a wish, or a dream. It's a choice. Just to expand on that a bit, it can start as a goal, a wish, or a dream, but it becomes a true choice when you actively choose it. So it's just an option. It's a goal, it's a dream, it's a wish, it's a possibility until it's chosen. And so the true choice in this definition on that line is once you've made the choice, that is your true choice. And that kind of solidifies it. So it's born of a goal, wish, or dream, but it isn't the goal, wish, or dream.
Right, the goal, wish, or dream, there are things on the menu.
Right?
I love me some menu.
We're all about the menu, Corey.
Right. So, all right, let's throw down some examples of what some true choices are and maybe what they're not at the same time, and so freedom comes up a lot. Like when we're doing workshops, we're doing recodes, and people are saying, hey, what is your thing you want to create? What's the thing that would help your end result? Freedom.
I want to be free. I want to be free.
But I don't think that freedom itself is the true choice. But taking that, okay, let's unpack that. Let's go a little bit deeper and say, what is the gift that freedom gives you? What is the gift you receive? Like all of a sudden, is that more money, more abundance, free time, free from what? And then
right.
One step further, the quality of life or the gift you receive because of that freedom.
So, for example, if someone is literally in chains and they just want to be free, they can toil away at, getting unshackled from it. And then they're standing there, they've accomplished it. And they're like, okay, now what? Or, you're trying to get out, and then you're out, and okay, a child, I'm running away from home. And they get their little suitcase and their peanut butter sandwich, and they're off they go, and they get halfway down the road and they're like, oh, well, now what? And that feeling is, when you focus on the freedom and you're not focusing on the choice, what you want, then you can end up in this limbo land of, okay, now what? And it's not structured, and we don't have identity, we don't have tension, we don't have all of the things that we need in order to manifest where you're going. So freedom, yeah. From what? Why? Why are you trying to be free? What, dig into that and get to the true choice, because it'll lead you there, but you have to do a little more digging.
So the choice of freedom is often a reaction to a current situation where you're at now, something that you don't desire, which is casting your gaze towards something that you probably do desire. But have you got your laser beam focus on the gift received because of that choice? So freedom versus a quality of life, a sum of money that lets me be in my abundance to create freely, for example, right? Another example, relationships. A romantic relationship. I want a romantic relationship because I'm lonely.
I want a boyfriend, Corey. I want a boyfriend.
All right. So is this, I think this version of wanting a relationship casts a shadow underneath problem solving. I'm lonely. I'm not perfect. I'm incomplete without. Versus, I want a relationship because I'm whole and I desire to co-create with another. Right?
That why is so important.
Yeah.
That why. It can be the same, that your true choice can look exactly the same, but when you're coming from the aligned energy of why, and it's feeding, into that end result emotion, that is what's important. And that's what we all are dissecting. That's what we look at, because, a relationship could be a true choice and it might not be.
Is a relationship filling a hole or a void? Is it solving a problem that then creates another set of problems because it wasn't really in focus, right? I want my mom's relationship with my dad because that's all I ever knew, versus I want to be whole in myself and meet my partner on the cosmic bridge and co-create a life together. A whole human with another whole human, creating together a third entity of a perfect relationship. What a completely different way to begin and arrive in your end result. True choices. So now we're starting to really dig up some of the emotion around the magnetization, the motivation, and the emotion about what a true choice is, right? We've got another example here. $1 million. I want $1 million. I think everybody wants $1 million.
Why, Corey? Why?
Right? But all by itself, the $1 million, I think it's going to solve all my problems. It's going to pay all my bills. It's going to fix everything. Right? Well, it might do those things, but if you're in that problem-solving mindset, you're still going to find some more problems. The $1 million in this day and age isn't very much money, really. What's going to happen? All right. So then we referred to this about a minute ago. If I want $1 million so that I can be in my abundance and create a life I truly love, because then it's not the money. The money just becomes a vehicle. The money just becomes a tool on the path as opposed to the focus, right?
This topic is one of my favorites because I used to want $1 million and I would take $1 million, but this topic is one that I struggled with a little bit. And I really began to understand that, for me, abundance isn't even about a dollar amount. It's not even about the money. It's about, it ties into the freedom issue. And I think freedom is a part of all of these, that I want to be able to do anything I'm inspired with. I want to be able to have the money that I need flow to me for anything, any project I want to do, any service I want to provide, any education I want to get, anything I want to do for my son. And money isn't even a part of the equation anymore. It's just, I want to choose a true choice and have it just be made available to me. Mm-hmm. So it's such a contrast, right? Such a different way of thinking.
Yep. I love that.
I love that, Lara, when you say, I just want it to be made available. There is an underlying assumption with some of the financial goals that it's only available at a financial price. And that's not always the case. And you don't want to close down all the other ways that that opportunity can be made available to you just because you're focusing on needing money to pay for it. That's a big assumption. And a lot of the times it's not accurate. Like there's other ways, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So I want to bring a little clarity to what a true choice is by calling into the light what a true choice is not, right? And so we've got a whole list of focus points that keep you from making true choices. And some of these feel a little bit like an illusion or a little bit like, ooh, that's almost there. Or they complement where you are on your path to keep you oscillating where you're at, you know.
Or it's close enough.
Right. But I love that phrase, focus points that keep you from making true choices. Now, what this does, it kills the emotion and motivation. When these things show up, all of a sudden that train toward that end result, all of a sudden slows down, stops in the shade, and just gives up. You know, things stop. Things all of a sudden are derailed on the way to that true choice result, right? And so the first one I want to talk about, let's dig up the oh so famous 7 sabotaging beliefs. Heavy organ music here. Dun dun.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
Right? Movie soundtrack, go. Right? You know, we can just kind of read these real quick. You know, we've been lots of information on these in other videos with Chris in particular. These show up all the time, but here they are: not worthy, not good enough, not significant, don't belong, not capable, not perfect, and not deserving, right? You know, and so there's a list, and, you know, and I think we're going to let that sit and marinate all by itself, because these all show up in a whole bunch of these other points we're about to talk about, right? You know,
and you know what, Corey, I'm looking at that list, and, you know, in learning the material and learning all of this theory and behind what we do as coaches and how we identify areas of opportunity and how we encourage clients. These 7 sabotaging beliefs are a real point of identification, and we should, you know, look at in the next couple of weeks, maybe doing a whole show just on those. I
would love that, because, you know, there's so many of our meditations and workshops and recodes and work seminars, classes that refer to this list.
Right. And it's important for people to understand and just kind of get where it comes from. So I just wanted to give a little shout out. We are going to cover it in detail. We're skimming it today.
Yeah. But, and on that note, let's read that list one more time, and let's imagine for a second what each one of these things feel like when I read it. Just take a second. What is it to feel like you're not worthy? What is it to feel like you're not good enough? What is it to feel like you're not significant and you don't belong? Not capable, you don't know how. You're not perfect and you don't deserve it, right? I think we can all tag and trigger some of those memories from our entire lives, right? Yeah, there's a little signature right there. Let's let that just marinate for a minute. Right. As we get into some of these other focus points that limit our true choices, right? Funny thing, next one, limitation. A whole concept around limitation. Choosing only what seems possible, right? When we're in a mindset of only choosing what seems possible, we're in a mindset of lack. We're looking through a lens of lack. I don't have enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have time. I would love to do that, but there's a thing on the table. I can't. You know, there's a edited down dream. I love that. Chris talked about this last weekend, talking about limitation. He mentioned edited down dream. Okay, so now there's your dream, this thing, this beautiful dream, and you're kind of settling for, you know, the trimmed movie trailer version. Oh, I would have a little more, but dot, dot, dot. I'm not good enough. Limitation, I'm not good enough, right? What's another one, Sarah?
Well, I'm just looking at my list, indirectness, choosing the process instead of the result, right? So you need to learn something. You get kind of fixate on, I have to learn something, or I have to get this credential before I can dot, dot, dot. And often that dot, dot, dot is before I can do anything else, right? And you get into, I have to get this done. And you are looking at your choice, and then you reason out a reasonable way to get there, and you lock into that path, and then you focus on your next thing, the big obstacle that's going to get you further. And what happens is your focus turns in on that obstacle, next step, and that becomes your goal and your focus. And then you're not really shooting for what you want, and you've completely shifted yourself into resolving that problem that you need to have something, or you need to do something. Like somebody could be imagining a particular financial goal or a particular career aspiration, and they decide the choice is, I need that promotion. That promotion becomes the goal, and the future is so much smaller. So you're not charging it up. You're not creating any pull and really keeping fixed on your goal. You've moved your goal to an obstacle that you need to overcome, and you've created a problem-solving structure just in doing that. And sometimes those ones are hard to see.
With indirectness, Sarah, I often think that this is the long way around. This isn't the shortcut.
Right?
Yeah, this is.
Hey, there's no shortcuts allowed when I decide that I need to do it this way, and I'm going to toil over here, and I missed the boat that was going to take me there so much easier because I was too busy. You're right. There's no room for shortcut.
Well, and indirectness too, I think, invites the conversation around silent instructions. We say one thing that really means another, and that takes us down and around the long way through all the rabbit holes and over the hill and through the woods. And we never end up at grandmother's house at the end.
Never. But we're focused on that stump in the way, and we're going to, now it's turned into it's taken on a life of its own. You've given it all your energy. You're trying to move the tree out of the path.
Yeah.
So you could have just gone the other way. Yeah.
So I got another one. Elimination. The process of elimination. Eliminating all other possibilities so that only one choice remains. Like I had no choice. You're leaving it up to something else. The thing that this catches my eye about is that, man, if you're removing everything else first, are you focusing on what you don't want more than you're focusing on what you want? If you're leaving the thing you want till last, the last priority, that means where did all that attention and energy and focus go? Right? I have no other choice. I don't have a choice. I've eliminated all these things that could be choices first. Then how do you really feel at the end of that day?
You know what? Where's the power in that too? Because you hear that. I mean, I come across that quite frequently. It's like, well, I just had to, I had no other choice.
Yeah.
What was I supposed to do? And they just hand the power over to the circumstance, the situation. It's like, did you look for another choice? Like, what do you really want? It's like, what are my choices within this really small scenario? My boss told me that, they needed to lay me off. So I had no choice but to downsize everything and move into a little small rental because of the money. I had no choice. They didn't, they handed the power over to the circumstance. And well, I have no choice but to, and it's kind of deferring the response, like it's just handing the responsibility over as well.
I think surrender comes in here too. It's like if you're not going to have that power to make a choice, because there's always a choice about how we can react to things, right? And there's always more choices in our reaction than we ever give ourselves credit for. But here you're right, Sarah, that surrender of power, giving your power away, letting whatever else is around you take the lead and push the result. Elimination. Wow, that's a big one.
Default.
Default.
I'm going to decide to not decide until all of my options narrow themselves down, because I don't trust myself to make a. Yeah, Lara, would you want to speak to default?
No, I love this one because this is what I call living in the pinball machine. So
I love that.
Yeah, years ago I decided that I grew up in a pinball machine, and I was just like, let off into the world. There's a ball at the bottom, and there it goes off into the world. And, the ball just goes where it goes, and it doesn't do anything until it gets flipped or bumped or hits a wall, right? And it gets knocked around. It's not choosing. It's just going wherever, because that's where, and then every once in a while it just drops down and loses all of its energy. But it's really not making a choice. It's, just letting things happen to you and for you. And it's a choice, right? It's a choice not to make the choice, but it's, that's like the ultimate giving up all your power, the way I see that.
I agree. And that one sounds like, well, let's just see what happens. But it's in that energy of, hopefully you're not going to make me make a choice or take a stand or do a thing. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines for a minute and watch things play out. Let's see how it plays out. It's just not engaging. So yeah, surrender, power away for sure. I'm just going to opt out of this situation, and I'll take how it lands instead of engaging in it. Really interesting.
A whole lot of time can go by there too, right?
Right.
You think, oh, I'll just hold off a minute, but then it's next year, and then it's 10 years later, and you still haven't really made any.
I think some of the pieces with default, some of the circumstance that create a limiting perspective, a limiting focus of default are like, I don't know how, I'm not capable. Like there's a decision that matters, and I feel like I don't have what I need to contribute to that. And so that there's a limitation there, but there's also there can be a respect to say, what, I don't have enough information to participate, but but you can be present and say, all right, I'm not going to go away. I'm going to actually step closer and learn more. That's usually not what happens. Usually what happens is other people's circumstances come first. Once again, you give your power away. You don't have, you surrender the voice to say anything. And that's all that's left is reaction. And now you're just reacting to it. All of a sudden you've surrendered your voice. Other people are in charge. They implement their decision. And now it's like, okay. There we are. Now we're in that reactor mindset again. Default creates reaction. Where are you in your choice? You've surrendered it. I think that's interesting to me. I can relate to that in my own life too, in so many ways, when I really wanted to show up with my tender heart in a difficult situation and I didn't know what to do. Could I have stepped closer and been integrous with that? Yeah. Did I choose to be quiet and sit down and not share my magic? Yeah, I've done that. Default. There's some triggers there. I feel that deeply. Yeah.
So let's pop into a conditional choice.
Conditions, rules.
Yeah.
If we think of rules,
it's like, okay, I can do it if I'm going to go and if I get into that college, then if I really want to move there, if that relationship works out, I really want to spend my days doing this. If that if pops up
does.
when we're talking. Like sometimes you don't hear it. When you're speaking, you won't even hear these little things. But I mean, that's what we do, is we listen for that and say, oh, are we, can we take a look at that choice and see, is it true? Or are you putting conditions on it?
Another word for conditional choice is imposing preconditions. Imposing, there's power there, there's something going on, there's somebody else's bar that you've got to be this tall to ride the ride, you've got to hit these marks, there's an outer control, and one of the things like that rings so true with conditional, there's a word that triggers here: unconditional love versus conditional love, right? What is that? Wow, daddy and mommy will love me when or if I do this. I'll get a promotion if my church says that I'll make it into heaven if, right?
You know what?
Yeah.
Here's another one. I want a loving, harmonious, joyful relationship, but it has to be with someone who's my type, or it has to be with someone who's got a particular income. It has to be someone. And you start putting parameters around what you want.
You have to
and
have
there's no room for.
Yeah, they have to be the right color, size, shape, all the things.
Right? I'll buy a new house if it has, putting these particular conditions on things. Sometimes we don't notice we do it. And it's like, well, no, it just needs to have that. If you dig one layer deeper, often those conditions are the problem-solving solution. So I have a problem. I don't have if I'm in a relationship that has some discord, I want a harmonious relationship with this person. There's an assumption in there that it's going to fix the problem, instead of focusing on the end game, which is the feeling you want to have, right?
God, we think about, when we are in this work of manifestation, right? And some of the things that we hear from our gurus and our mentors is focus on the end result. Don't worry about the how, right? Now, all of a sudden we think about this limit of conditions, preconditional situations, imposing preconditions. This limits the magic that could be available. When we're focused on the end result and not on the how, often the how is so much better when it shows up inside the creation of the end result, as opposed to controlling every moment of the how, right? I'm super in control. That way you can't see outside those blinders. It limits the magic. These conditions, all of a sudden you've got this tunnel vision that doesn't let other things in. Sometimes that laser beam focus is exactly what you need for a short time to do a thing. But is that a true choice to really limit the magic of the universe, of source?
No, it's not. Which is, that's exactly, no, it's not. Lara, reaction, you were talking about defaults earlier. And so reactions just in that same family.
Yeah, no, reaction by default. How often do we make a quick decision? I mean, that's not what I said, right? Choice by reaction. How often do we make a choice just because we don't like something in a moment? We don't stop and pause and, gauge what's going on. We just quit our job. Or
let me interrupt real quick. How often do you make a choice in a quick moment that has a lifelong impacting effect off of a moment?
Leave your relationship, leave a job, right? Those are big ones.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that we can do, and that's something that we're always looking at in this work, to stop and notice. Lots of awareness, right? Gauging where we are and what's going on, and remembering that we don't have to react, right?
Right. Well, my favorite about reacting, people will accept, okay, maybe I overreacted. Okay. And they'll be trying to backpedal. I overreacted, forgive me, I did a thing. I didn't mean to quit yesterday. I was overreacting, and they try and patch it up. And if you accept that there's overreacting and you're accepting that there's reacting is a good lane to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're inviting, why is there any reacting when there's an opportunity to respond? Because you can't over respond. You can overreact and it's chaos.
I love that.
But can you over respond? No. So that has a better vibe to it.
Well, this one often requires cleanup and backpedaling. And it's often linked to those sabotaging patterns, right? They just fire. We make this choice and then we go, oh, I have to apologize, or I'm not going to get that job back, or, now trust has been lost the relationship, right? Left the relationship. And this is a messy one. It can be a messy one. So that's another reason for all this work, reducing those sabotaging patterns will reduce that reactivity and help us to make choices more powerfully.
Laura, I love that you brought up damage control and backpedaling, because I think one of the roots of reaction, one is it happens quickly. Like when we react, it's like, bam, rarely have we thought about it. And when we react like that, it's because it's designed to overcome some sort of a conflict or a disruption, right? So all of a sudden it's like, whoa, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Or, oh no, that just happened. What do we do? We have to fix this thing. Like there's an immediacy. There's a quickness to reaction. And then all of a sudden we find we might have went too far with that overreaction, right? And that, and one step further is we're getting away. We're trying to run away from an unwanted condition or circumstance. Oh God, I don't like that. Oh, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. It's like this massive trigger warning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, we're trying to unload those triggers.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot easier to lean towards response instead of reaction when we are focused on the true choice. But being aware of the mechanism that's going off in your mind and what's prompting it, what's tripping that reaction is something that we can notice and therefore work with in order to reduce the load, the emotional reactivity, make it less volatile, and noticing where those choices get made and noticing how you're making these, how you're being kept from your true choice by your own mind and your own thought processes and reactions and emotions is kind of what we do all day long, right?
Yeah. This one, I'd like to say too, this one just has big impacts because it also, when we make choices in the moment that are not good for ourselves or for anyone else, then we can really even deepen the patterns we have, add to shame, add to those really negative patterns and just, deepen the groove. And it's the opposite of what we want to be doing. So
I think there's a couple things around when we make choices based in reaction. There's a couple things that happen. One of them is that I think we're not really desiring the end result that might be being talked about in a group or in a bigger situation. We're responding to something immediate, but it's not the end result. And I think what happens when we're in reaction and all of a sudden we bounce off something and there's this immediacy and this big energy, and then we have this movement toward what might seem like an end result. And then as soon as we get far enough away from whatever we reacted to, our motivation slows down. The train comes to a stop. We're no longer aiming at the end result. We just bounced off a thing into our safety, right? And so I think safety is an interesting thing to bring up into choices made out of reaction. Where am I safe? Where am I able to do this? There's a precondition as well around that. Like, oh my God, if we break the rules, what do? We bounce off this thing, but I think, I think it's an amazing thing to think about. Like, whoa, how often do we overreact because we've learned to do that out of context all over.
And with that, just calling back to last week's topic, which is the responsibilities of the unconscious mind, we understand that that's just how our brains work, and it's reasonable and it's keeping you safe, but that reaction will come in, and as we focus on our true choices, as we be really deliberate about making our choices true, then we can stay lined up and not be bounced around like a pinball. Yeah. You don't want that. Consensus, guys. How about consensus?
Other people's happiness,
Yeah.
other people's opinions.
And our approval of ourselves, right? We also, we're worried about other people's opinions, and we're worried about, about being approved of. So I don't want to make a decision for this, in this group because, without knowing what everybody else wants and going along with them, because, maybe they won't like my ideas, or maybe I'll make a wrong choice for the group. So there's, there's the approval factor. Mm-hmm. And then there's the wanting, to fit in and wanting to, something that people do a lot is, this is a silly one, but you're in a restaurant. Have you ever had somebody in the group who just says, well, what are you having? What are you having? What are you having? And then they make the decision about what they're going to order because what everyone else is ordering. And that's a harmless one, but it's, you see that all the time. So,
but it's the same mechanism where it's the belonging and the not wanting to destabilize any possible sense of belonging, and so that gets back into those sabotaging identities that we'll touch on some other day. But the need to belong can play into what choices you're making when you're not being conscious and aware of making a true choice, and keeping that integrity and keeping that choice.
Yeah.
Well, now, adverse possessions, my favorite.
The last one on our list. This is the last one of our list. Adverse possessions.
Can I do that one?
Jump in, Sarah.
Yes, please.
It's a choice based on a hazy metaphysical notion about the nature of the universe.
Oh, so good.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So just
getting a
real quick, I turned on the radio and there was a message in it for me, and so I needed to drive across the country because the radio told me to. Or I know somebody who was in Europe and they saw a cat walking down a little side street, and they followed the cat, and the cat stopped and sat in front of a place where they looked for some indication of what the cat was supposed to be telling them. And that led them to travel where they found another cat walking down the street, and they followed that cat. They went all across Europe following random cats. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a really neat experience, but that's very deferring to, the signs from the universe instead of waiting to be told.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting deferring for, I'm going to wait until I see an angel number, or, I saw a particular license plate, or, a feather fell on me, and it centers around all of what would be commonly referred to as superstitions and good luck charms and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And to make your decisions to make your choices based on that is again giving away the power.
I think another slant on adverse possession choices comes from feel-good ideas without action. For example, let's go watch all of the Law of Attraction movies without applying any of it. We can watch the movies and go, oh, I just love that. And then don't.
I'm going to script my manifestations. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to sit and wait for them to come in.
Or I'm
I'm
going
not going to move.
I'm going to read all the self-help books and do none of the work.
Right?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to put all of my energy into this thing outside myself and apply none of it to my inner being.
Well, I think that's a really important thing to note, because in this work, you know, Chris is really helping us to understand how the law of attraction works. You know, people watch all these films about it, or they learn all about it, and they just think, if I just think about it a little bit or think about it a lot, this will happen. But there are more steps. You know, there's more involved. There's that choice, and then there's being inspired with the action toward that choice. And that action is missing in this equation. It's sort of the magical thinking that I'm going to get there without the steps in between.
There is that little story about the man. It was just a little metaphor analogy. There's a man drowning in the ocean, and a boat comes by and says, you know, get in, I'll help you. And the drowning man is up there and he's floating around the water, and he's like, no, God's gonna save me. And so off the boat goes. Another boat comes by. Dude, get up, you know, come on, climb aboard, I got you. And he's like, no, God's gonna save me, I believe God's gonna save me. And then a third boat comes by, same thing. And then he gets to the pearly gates, and he's like, God, I thought you were going to save me. He's like, well, I sent 3 boats. You needed to get, you know, you can sit and wait and not take the action, but you need to take the action towards what you're wanting.
Right. All right. So let's shift from what we don't want to do here to what we do want to do.
Right?
Yeah. So
let's get oriented.
The good place to start. You know, we always hear, you know, the beginning true choices are the core 4 orienting choices. The big core 4. Dun, da, da. Can I have a brass fanfare here? Dun, da, da, da.
That's a better noise than dun, dun, dun.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
You know, absolutely. So we work on these core choices, these 4 choices, because there is likely resistance to having them now. So we can work on that right off the bat. You know, when we're just learning this work, we can sink our teeth into these core choices, find some initial resistance, work on that resistance, and then gain a bigger understanding of the use and the importance of what a true choice is. This is a really great way to try on these new shoes and walk around in them, right? See how they fit and get a sense of what it means. And then we can start making some more advanced, detailed, true choices that actually fit what you're trying to create, where you're going in this world. So let's list them.
I find these are these 4 choices, you know, 4 areas of your life, you know, that keeps things in balance, but they're general enough that if you start there, you can kind of get the ship turned around away from this problem solving, these other ways of making choices. If you keep it simple, keep it general, and just work on it. And as you go, you know, you've got your I choose to live a life I love.
That's the first one right there. Live a life you love.
There.
Mm-hmm. Love every moment on this journey called life. Every moment. What it would be like. How is that to live and breathe love in every moment of your life? Acknowledge that you created it and you get to change it. You're in your power with that. Right?
I mean, who wouldn't like to wake up every morning excited to be alive, grateful to take that breath and be able to put their feet on the floor and get started on the magic that is today? I mean, to be in that energy daily, why not?
There's no step on the path better than the one you're on right now. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Feel the power of that. You know, I love that, you know, like to quote Janis Joplin, tomorrow never happens, man. You know, like, you know, we can put all of our dreams into the future and forget that where we are in power is right here, right now. Right now. You know?
Interesting to note is that there are no details about what that looks like in here, and that it's really about a feeling. how do you want to feel in this life, moving through this life? How do you want that to feel? Just, I want to just love it, you know? Where do I want to live? Well, I've thought about the details of where I would like to live, and I've played around with that. But in the end, I want to walk outside of my door or walk downstairs to my living room, and I just love where I am and love everything about it. And love, you know, it doesn't really matter how that shows up. I want that feeling. So I think that's a really important thing to know, that it's the feeling that we're after, right?
I want to add to that, Laura, because I think you're right on the money with loving where you're at, you know, and like so many of us are like, we're going to put some creative tension around my desired reality and my current reality, and I'm going to warm myself up to dream in this direction. But the PowerPoint on this side, in the current reality, to say, all right, everything in my life got me right here. Everything. Can you be grateful and full of appreciation for all of the pieces of the puzzle that allowed you to stand where you are in this place of power? And so you're able to dream further. What an incredible place to stand. I love that I'm a creator. I love that I've made my life the way it is, and I can see the menu of choice. Pretty cool.
Right? And as we're working on these 4 core choices, and there's 3 others, what we're looking for, and when we're electing to choose these general choices, these 4 true choices, is to get oriented towards creating and not problem solving. So it's about shifting your focus. It's about getting yourself kind of turned around and not focusing on your problem anymore, and choosing to create something new. And there's all of those things come up to raise doubts and fears and hesitations and habits and all of these little things that are holding you back from getting there. And that's what we refer to as resistance. And what we work on is, in a general sense, if you were looking for a life you love and that was your choice, do you have any of that resistance there? And we want no resistance to the general orientation. Then we can start narrowing it down on exactly what does that look like.
Oh, thank you, Sarah, because that's why these 4 are like, if you're new to this and you're trying to figure out what it is, where do you start? A life I love. And if there's some resistance to that, okay, awesome first place to begin. And right next to that, of course, is the choice, health and vitality. I choose health and I choose vitality. We are issued a flesh suitcase as we're in this life. Right?
Flesh suitcase.
Here we are running around in this flesh, this little fleshy suitcase thing, and we got to take care of it so that it'll get us where we're going. It'll take us places. We got to feed it, right? We want to make sure that it's doing as best as it can do. So, we're taking our creative power and putting it towards our health and energy, right? So that we're rested, so that we can, regenerate, so that we can be strong, so that we can do things. We take our control of our body back. We connect with that power within us, right? So that when things happen, because things happen with our bodies, like we get sick sometimes, or maybe there's an injury or an accident or a diagnosis. When these things happen, we do have the ability to grow again, to take our power back with our health and vitality, and I love that when we talk about, like when Chris talks about, all right, I don't care what diagnosis anybody has, you're still 80% healthy,
Right?
Where's your focus? Okay, you're breathing, your heart is pumping, your circulatory system is delivering, you're eating, you're alive. Therefore, the majority of you is functioning well. Parts of us, all of us, every one of us navigates our health and vitality with every single day. But are we focused on what's breaking us down more often than what's keeping us up and running? Where's our focus again? Where's my true choice? Where are we taking our power back? Like I've had some pretty big diagnoses in my world. I'm HIV positive, and that was a big deal, right? And at first it was like scary, scary, scary. And then it was like, wait a second, that's not a death sentence. That's 1 pill a day to stay healthy. Oh, I took my power back.
Absolutely.
I was no longer frightened by that. Okay, health and vitality. Now I'm strong. Funny thing, my doctor said, you're HIV positive. And a man your age, you're going to live another 40 years if you were healthy. And now that you're HIV positive, you're probably going to live another 40 years. I was like,
Right.
doctor with sense of humor, you're funny.
And so now if we're looking at another true choice that we like to orient towards, I choose to live my true nature and purpose.
I love this.
So
This one.
I love that one. I mean, Lara, you've got the most beautiful.
May I please? I
Yes,
love it.
please.
I was working on a client doing craniosacral therapy probably 25 years ago. And I would get into this really quiet meditative state, and often just thoughts would drop in. And this beautiful sentence dropped in one day. And the sentence was this: we are here to be the best and fullest expressions of the unique creations that we are. And to me, that's exactly what this is, living our true nature and purpose. It's
One more time, Lara, one more time.
We're here to be the best and fullest expressions of the unique creations that we are. I love everything about it. The fullest expression, our own uniqueness. We're here to, fully express ourselves, and that's going to be different from everyone else. And that's one of the reasons, all of the intuition and that connectivity is so important, because we're doing this our own way, right? And not like anyone else, and not following anything else. But I just love it, and I feel the energy in that, and I love it so much. So that was easy for me.
What a great choice to align to. And it's like, and because I choose to live my true nature and purpose, whatever that may be, but I'm open to discovering, I'm open to exploring, I'm open to learning, I'm open to expressing who I am, and being in integrity with that.
Yeah.
So I adore true nature and purpose. But number 4.
Wait. I want to add one thing to that real quick.
Yeah.
It's the true nature and purpose. It's the why you are here.
Yep.
Why are you here? Why is it worth it? Why do you get up in the morning? What makes why?
Yeah. And you know what? So much of that gets conditioned out of us when we're kids. We came here curious about certain things. We came here with passions around certain things. And a lot of that just gets squashed right out of it. So one little kid is loving the bugs all around, and, parent comes and squashes it. Bugs are bad, and then,
Okay, well, on that point,
Yeah.
you also, while you're here, that's nobody's say so but yours.
Yep.
Like, you don't be running around like, I need to get a reading, or I need to get a wise person, or I need to go to the clergy, or I'm going to go to my grandfather or my parent or whoever. They'll tell me why I'm here, what I should be doing.
I love that you pointed that out. Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is innate. Why you're here is only for you to say. And so to uncover every expectation and every role and every boundary and every limitation that's been placed on you by society, by all of the organizations in your life, the structure of your life as a younger person, as you grow into your adulthood, you need to give yourself permission to realize your own true nature and purpose, because you need to make that real for that fulfillment, for that sense of, I'm really doing my thing. This is my gift to offer. It's who I am. It's what I do. And to choose to be the predominant creative force.
Fourth one right there.
The next
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get into your true nature and purpose, and then when you got a sense of it, let's try choosing to be the predominant creative force in our life, right?
This is such a juicy one. The predominant creator, whoa, big words. They feel big, right? Powerful and in control, right? When you are the predominant creator of your universe, you choose your reactions in ways that you desire to have them. You're not longer making choices inside of reaction. Now you're choosing how you want to react. Now there's not urgency. Now it's like, oh, I have an audience. I'm going to put on this outfit. I'm going to say these words in this beautiful environment, and the curtain's going to go out when I say so. I'm in control. You choose your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, your actions, your focus. You choose it. And I think when we arrive in this magic power of choosing and understanding your predominant creator, there's this magic moment when you look backwards and you realize and remember that you always have been. You always have been. All of these shenanigans or these trauma points or these pain points of the past, you put those in place for these divine learnings. This is when our wisdoms, right, become in our hands. They become tangible. Our wisdoms become tangible. Where do our wisdoms come from? Our woundings. All of a sudden, our woundings make sense. They weren't fun. They were painful. They were difficult because they're supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, we take that power back and went, oh, okay. Because of my own woundings, my own journey, boy, do I have a real good grasp on empathy and the human condition and my own ability to love gigantically. Not just the world, but I love myself gigantically. Predominant creator. Now I'm creating what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to create what's after that. And I'm going to create again, even more after that. Dreams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right?
And so now if you've got all of those 4 orientations, you're kind of pointed now in that direction. We've got the ship turned a ways, and coaching absolutely speeds that up.
Right.
But now you're in a creative structure. Now you're not in a problem-solving structure. And what does that look like?
Ooh,
So,
I love this.
Corey, we've got a list of what that looks like. Let's hear the difference, and let's hear the creative structure self-talk.
Yeah. So we've arrived in this foundation of creative structure where other creation now becomes welcome. And we start to say things to ourselves like, I am absolutely worthy. I am good and I am way more than enough. I am significant and I matter. I totally belong at my place at the table. I am very capable and I have more than needed. I am total perfection, period. I deserve it all because I love it.
God, doesn't that feel good?
Oh, that's so good.
This is limitless possibility. Now we've arrived. I love that. We've now arrived with our predominant creator in one hand and the menu of limitless possibility in the other.
Now you can get to work. Now you can get creating.
Absolutely.
This is like the Wizard's Gate platform.
Mm-hmm.
We got our four corners in place, and now we've got our platform for diving into.
There are more gifts. When we're in this space, this energy, there's the gift of directness, right? Nothing's in the way. We're looking right at the thing we're doing, right? And if we're not, we get to do some recodes and remove some resistance so that we do have directness. No illusions, no delusions, directness. Mm-hmm. Another one, inclusion of all possibilities. Wow, I'm going to include all possibilities into what I'm making next.
I love that. I love the fact that when you're making true choices, you're not narrowing down your possibilities, you're actually expanding them.
Bingo.
So when you're in a problem-solving structure, I got to touch back on it for a hot minute, but you're sitting there, you're making a choice and you're narrowing it down and narrowing it down. And there was a conventional wisdom that was till you get no other choice. And then that's the choice you make. That's how you choose things. So the suggestion here in the creative structure is that every choice you make opens up more possibility. And then more than that, and then more than that. And it's just this limitless menu of wonder and excitement and anything you want. And then it's just fun to choose. There's a couple of other coaches that like to say every day is Tuesday. And that's just a fun little a pocket phrase that I'll pull out too when somebody's feeling limited. It's like, don't forget, every day's Tuesday.
Well, and that gets us to the next gift of arriving in this energy is the power to make huge choices. You get to make not just little ones, huge choices. And then from that list, it's unconditional choices, freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I love the freedom, possibility, unlimited, all of those ways that that we keep ourselves from making true choices are the things that limit all of that possibility. That's why we want to start to notice those and eliminate them, because get them out of the way, and then now we have all possibility in front of us.
Right. So now we're in a creative mindset that's not reacting. Right. Wow. And I really think that we're sensing in this conversation what it is to step into a little sample of what that might feel like. Like all of a sudden, like I was looking at everybody's posture as we're talking about this. We stepped into the positive side of this conversation, and almost everybody all of a sudden went, whoop, they came a little closer. Like, oh, this part feels good. This is juicy stuff. So I want to acknowledge the contagiousness of this energy signature. Here it is. It's like, okay, here we're breathing it. We're talking about it. We're blowing some life into the sails of being our predominant creator right here, right now. I'm taking that on. I'm going to mark this moment, right? How cool is that? And that gets us to the next step. What are your action-based decisions? When you're in this energy, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? With this little sampling, this little flavor, this little appetizer of creative, juicy goodness, how are you going to carry this forward?
Isn't that a fun question when you're like, okay, there's a totally different energy, but it's the same question. So you're in a problem-solving structure, you're like, well, what am I going to do now? And in creative orientation, you're like, ooh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do now? What can I do? What do I get to do? And I think that all of this conversation that we're having around these true choices and the difference between a problem-solving orientation and a creative structure, and how those four core true choices can help you get the ship turned around and get you into that wonderful, delicious energy that we were just sampling. Part of it, like, first, you have to realize you need a little bit of awareness that that's how choices were being made. So you get a little bit of awareness around how you made the choice, or that's what you were doing, those things that were keeping the focal points that were keeping you from your true choice, and that was driving your decision-making process. Then you can observe that. You can see there's some flaws in that logic. The thought process is not airtight. And it's like, oh, okay, you can poke a few holes in that. Then, calling back to last week's responsibilities of the unconscious mind, we know that this is just safety mechanism. This is how our brain works. It's understandable. It's not that anybody's doing anything wrong or broken. It was exactly as designed to get you to the point where you can make the choice. And so understanding how your brain works, then you get yourself turned around, and and you can feel the possibility, the more choices, and the exponential opening up of opportunity, life experience, and all of the goodness that we love to talk about. But in order to get there, it's what we do. Instead of worrying about all of the details, we're looking for the feeling. So that feeling we were just sampling it. We are always talking about what feeling is that going to get you. You've got a choice. What feeling are you after? Because when you think about it, consider it, doesn't matter what part of your brain you throw this at, you say, I want this. It's because you're after a feeling. And that's why so many people have made all of these choices, and they're working so hard at taking these actions and making these choices, and they get there where they thought they wanted to be. And then they're not happy and they don't understand why. And it's because they were focused on the thing and they weren't focused on the feeling. So we are all about the emotion of the end result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What if the focus is on creating the feeling more importantly than the thing itself, right? The thing comes with the feeling. Like the feelings or emotions are the jet fuel to manifestation. It's easy to just make a list of things we want, but is it, let's do the work. Let's practice and flex our focus to understand that we're manifesting an emotion. We're manifesting our feelings. We get to choose our feelings and then remember them and then feel them. We get to feel them. That's
right?
super
And
cool. Super
understanding
good
that our unconscious mind is, we know it's going to go to what's known, and it's going to play it safe. And that was useful, but coaching and the processes we use help unplug some of those loops, some of those known patterns and habits, and who wants to play it safe with a thought?
Mm-hmm.
We can really test out new feelings, new things we want to experience, new emotions, and create these little cocktails of emotions. It's like, oh, I like how that felt, and we could add this to it, and you can really go after some really fun creation, and you never know how it's going to show up, right?
Yeah. Hey, I want to start buttoning this up just a little bit. We're getting towards the end of the hour here, and I also want to give a quick shout out to what we're doing on Let's Talk next week, which is the importance of getting into the emotion of the end result. Right? Now here we are, more of this conversation. We're going to take this conversation and dig deeper, jump in. We're going to take you all to join hands and jump into the deep end of the pool of the emotion of the end result. And then day after tomorrow in our Genius Hub, our membership site, we're talking about the magic and the tool of the perceptual shift. Another really cool thing. And with that, I want to open up the circle. I want to say to everyone here in the room, I want to know what your aha moments or takeaways from today are. Sarah, you got your hand up.
Well, I just wanted to take a minute right before we go around the room, because all of the Magneticor coaches are in the house on this call.
Oh, hey.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that we're all here. So Emma has come in, and Kim, and that makes the 6 of us.
Well, that's so cool. That doesn't happen very often. All 6 of us in the house. Cool.
I was excited to see it.
Let's go around the room. Anybody want to jump in with some ahas or takeaways from today's topic on true choices? What did you learn? What touched your hearts? What was new information or questions, perhaps? Anybody? Anybody want to jump in? I know you do. We want you to.
I'll say something first then.
Mary, welcome.
There's so much information, but I guess what I'd like to say is being able to go deeper into the depths of what choice really is, and bringing in the not good enoughs and all those 7 things that we have, that we concern ourselves with. So what I enjoyed about today was the fact that it's not just I choose this and I feel great. It's where are you really coming from? Where are you really going to? What is it that you're truly wanting to have or create? That's what I really enjoy, going deeper. And I must say, for a very long time, I've felt uncertain about choices and what it meant and what have you. So today helped me go deeper into the appreciation of what it is we're doing to create our choices. It's not just something we do every morning to feel good. And especially like, the reaction response you know, whether you react in, you know, without choice, or hang on, let's sit back. Let's think about, where am I at? What do I choose at this very moment in time? And so it also helps bring us into alignment again to where we are, rather than to just knee-jerk reaction into, oh, I'm not liking this and I'm going to, you know, call it quits. So look, there's so much I could say, but basically, yeah, going into the depth of it. So I'm really looking forward to you going through those 7 behaviours or emotions again, you know, not good enough, etc., and everything else that you're going to do, because it's really vital that we dig deep, because we haven't been brought up with this. We've been brought up to just do this, do as I tell you. And so although we have the awareness of what we want, we don't have the know-how, not only consciously, but also physically, to feel what we want to feel. We don't have that. We have the ability, but we haven't been trained or taught and told that. So, yeah, look, the work here is amazing. So thanks. I just want to get across that going deeper is so much more helpful. Thanks.
Well, you know, Carrie, I just want to add to that real bit. You used a word that I really love. You said appreciate. You know, and I just wanted to just shed a little light on the importance of that word, because, you know, gratitude is an amazing place to be, you know, and gratitude is a pretty high vibration place to be. Appreciation takes it a step higher, because appreciation brings in, not only are we grateful for it, but we understand the importance of all of its pieces, you know. So thank you for using one of my favorite words, appreciate, you know, wanting to go deeper with this work.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have something to share? Anybody else want to chime in? Gift, aha, question. Anybody? Maggie? Oh, I think you're on mute, love.
Got me?
There you go.
Okay. I love breaking words down. So I was thinking today, in a nutshell, with all the wonderful gifts that you've given us, the lovely gems, that so often our choices are reactive, which is like after the fact. And what we're learning here, particularly today, is that choice needs to be proactive. And so we're becoming pros at choosing our actions by applying the techniques and tools and things that we're learning here. And so it's the being proactive that's important. It's the choosing the steps before we rush into some kind of action. So yeah, break that word down, you know, proactive as opposed to reactive.
That's lovely.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. Proactive.
Deliberate, purposeful, mindful choice, right? Love it.
Yes.
Ooh, juicy.
Choosing the action. I'm all about the
Deliberate, purposeful.
word. All right. Thank you, Maggie. All right. There's a few other people in the room. Anybody want to jump in? Last minute nuggets, questions, ahas, takeaways. Anybody else? All right. Well, it looks like we're getting ready to wrap it up. Last chances, anybody? Okay. Oh. Nicole?
Hello from London. I'm in my pajamas. So there was
welcome.
something that popped up. This has been so beautiful, as always. And there's something around how we can be like, I want this thing, and be very, very specific about it when we've got beyond those beautiful 4 choices. But also, maybe the universe has something even more juicy for us in store, and we can therefore be limiting that possibility. So you could almost throw in the, and what else is possible, and or this or better, or so. I love that openness to possibilities, because that really empowers that. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Yes, please. And you used one of my favorite words, juicy. I love me some juicy details. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. All right, everybody. I just want to say thank you so much for showing up at Let's Talk with us, talking about, the puzzle pieces of coaching and the tools that we play with in this arena of the magnetic mind and having a conscious life, a conscious awareness, a conscious creation. I want to honor the 6 coaches that created Magneticor, since we dance and do this work and co-create with each other on a daily basis. I love you all. Thank you for coming. I want to honor everyone who came in the room today. Thank you for playing full out and bringing your tender hearts into the circle with us. I want to say thanks, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.